Hello, I'm Tom Martin, and welcome to another episode of A San Francisco Conservative, the new podcast series where we ask thought-provoking questions about government, the economy, history, and we learn a wealth of new ideas. That's certainly why I'm here. I'm a longtime journalist. I worked for ABC News, Diane Sawyer and Good Morning America for many years, for CBS News, Charles Kuralt, even Walter Cronkite, and a few other odds and ends thrown in. And I'm honored to have a chance to talk once again with my dear friend David Parker, who is the author of Income and Wealth and a San Francisco conservative. And David is joining us from San Francisco. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
I love seeing you. I learned something from every one of these conversations. I'm sure today will be exactly the same thing, learning opportunity. So you've been writing a number of essays. People will have a chance to read your essays very soon in book form, which I'm excited about. And one of your recent essays, I thought was really a masterpiece of, it's funny, in television news, they say, condense, make it concise. How tight can you make it in terms of conveying information in a limited space, time frame? And you have presented the four laws of economics. And you're an entrepreneur, you're an investor, you're not, locked away in some library somewhere where you know nothing about the economy. You really have learned all of this firsthand, as well as gone back to school. But what we talked recently about the first two laws, and I'll just recap briefly. Law number one, comparative advantage. We talked about that. And number two, marginal utility theory. But what is law number three?
Well, that's the law everyone knows, supply and demand. But the law really says price is a function of supply and demand. And I believe if you properly label or state what a problem is, you will probably have the answer in the statement. And if you can get price into a statement of a problem, then you can look for supply and demand, and you will probably solve that problem correctly, especially if money is involved. And if you don't have the word price in your statement of the problem, you're probably not going to solve the problem.
Well, it's interesting. I can't help but think you know me, how I'm fascinated by politics and started covering politics when I got into journalism. And I think it was James Carville who told his friend Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. And so everybody's like voting their pocketbook, voting their wallet. They talk about the price of gasoline. And there's a dirty word that's been floating around this year, the I word, inflation. How does this third law fit with inflation?
Well, Milton Friedman, in my opinion, said it correctly, that inflation is only one thing. It's the supply of money having been increased, like for no reason. The reason government is printing money, and they printed money for COVID, so to ease the pain. And by doing that, it caused the prices to rise. That's why prices are high. People say, oh, there's a shortage of material because factories were closed down. There's some truth to that, but that's just the market reacting to a real natural catastrophe. There's always a natural catastrophe. COVID was natural, it's nature, it was a flu. Could have been an earthquake, or a city could have burnt down, or could have been a war. Tons of things could have happened, and you're going to have a mismatch of supply and demand, and it's going to be reflected in price. Had the money that was printed out to ease the pain of COVID, if all those who received that money were forced to pay it back, that would completely change the picture. I believe there should be a line item on your 1040 tax return that you pay that back over a 20-year period, $400 or $500 or $1,000 a year or more, or most of it. And that would correct inflation right there. Otherwise, you're printing money at a rate that's greater than the rate of increase of population. There has to be money in the economy to pay for goods and services. But if the population is increasing 2% a year, which it kind of is, and you're printing money at 3% a year, you're increasing the money supply, and boom, you have inflation.
Well,
And
speaking of
to
those,
cut inflation with high interest rates and throw people out of work, that's not a great thing.
yeah. It's funny. I remember not long ago, I mentioned the name of one of your favorite people, Elizabeth Warren. I think you're a big Elizabeth Warren fan.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
So she said the Federal Reserve needs to be careful. I guess the Federal Reserve always needs to be careful, but hiking the rate, because she said that will put a lot of people out of work. And if the Fed is correcting for quote unquote inflation, and it's not really the cause of what we're dealing with right now, there's sort of a disconnect.
Yeah, that's a lot of government policy is they don't throw the word price in there, and so you just make up stuff. You make up solutions. Let's cut inflation by raising interest rates to 20%. Yeah, that'll cut inflation. It'll cut employment rate too.
Can only imagine. Yes.
I mean, raise the unemployment rate. Yeah, it's completely it's not good thinking.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you my best example since we're talking.
Yeah, well, let me just throw one thing in
right.
real quick. And for those of you who are joining us middle of our conversation here, this is a San Francisco Conservative, the new podcast series featuring David Parker, author of Income and Wealth and a San Francisco Conservative. I'm Tom Martin, a longtime journalist, asking hopefully thought-provoking questions. And I am really intrigued with this. And what is the example, that you want to share with us of what we're talking about here?
It would be not labeling a problem correctly. The whole nation agrees, left and right, that the cost of medical healthcare is too high. It's really high. It's higher than any nation in the world. And many Americans actually do what's called medical tourism. They'll fly down to Mexico or Singapore and get the same operation for less. And people will buy drugs from Canada for a third. I think it's illegal, but people do it. So we're not labeling the problem. It's price. If the price of healthcare is too high, something is wrong with supply and demand. It means that demand way exceeds the supply of healthcare. But that's not really the case. And now we can get into the solution. I live in San Francisco, and there's a lot of great hospitals.
I can't resist asking you to share your story. I heard this, I don't know, last year, perhaps, or some months ago. You said that your father is a great example of, or what was a great example of the thinking that has got us into this trouble with healthcare, right?
Well, yeah, I took my father to a hospital in his later years, and at a restaurant, he'll double check the waiter's bill, see if he's off 10 cents. Or if he's buying a car, what's that for? He walks into a hospital, which is really expensive, and opens up his arms. Take care of me. I don't care what it costs. I almost died on the spot. The most expensive thing, and he doesn't care what it costs.
Yeah.
And so that means he's not thinking properly about healthcare, which means that nobody's thinking properly about healthcare except me.
Yeah.
What it really means. So demand is not more than supply. The truth is it's the other way around. I'm in San Francisco. I get advertisements every day in the mail for UC Med, one of the world's greatest hospitals. Kaiser, I think, may be known around the country. I'm not sure. Sutter Health, all the big hospitals are here in the Bay Area. At Stanford, UC Berkeley, they're all here in the Bay Area. They're all advertising. Come to us. We have lots of hospital space. We have the best treatment. Why are they advertising? All during COVID in San Francisco, half the hospitals were half empty. During COVID, I mean, they expanded, and so they expanded more than they ever thought they would need to.
Yeah.
So, but they're how can hospitals be half empty and advertising That's why they're advertising. If you're half empty, price should come down if you're half empty.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Now that
That's
you
my point.
told me about that, I'll never listen to these ads on the radio. We hear that here in Connecticut and the New York City area, also ads, commercials for hospitals. Well, if it was true supply and demand, we wouldn't be hearing these commercials. So.
Well, no, you would hear them, but the price would be coming down. They would be saying, come to Stanford Hospital. It's the greatest hospital in the area. And we're cutting prices in half this week only or something.
Right.
You better get, but that's not how the advertisement is. They always say, oh, we have the best service. We have the best research. We're in the forefront.
Yeah.
If they're not saying they're lowering their price.
Yeah.
In fact, they're raising their price.
Yeah.
So where's the demand coming from? The demand is completely artificial. The demand, not completely, the demand is artificial. It's coming from Medicare and some from Medicaid. Medicare is to be inclusive, to be fair, economic justice, whatever the word is. They're providing a level of service far higher than most people would spend on their own. The most expensive part of healthcare is generally the last 6 months of life. If you want to stay alive, that's really when you rack up the bills. And if people were given a choice, we'll keep you alive, and this is what's going to cost, but then you'll have nothing left to leave your own children, nothing left for your grandchildren. Your house, everything is gone to keep you alive for 6 months. Most people will say, no, for 6 months, I don't want to destroy all my savings and everything I planned for my college education for my grandchildren. No, I won't do it. But you don't have that choice. And procedures that the hospitals looking for money are constantly offering you more service than you need. And one of the inspirations was I took my son at 12 years old. He broke his, kind of sprained his arm. I took him to UC Med. They asked for 14 x-rays, when in fact, the doctor who treated him says, you don't need an x-ray. I can see what happened here. He just put a bandage around him, told me to get out of here. That really tipped me off. And then when I complained about the bill, they says, just pay whatever you want, whatever you can. This is the grossest sloppiness on all accounts. It's completely, that's what we have in this country. Healthcare out of control, price-wise, not quality, but price out of control. There's no consumer saying, if you had a $5,000 deductible on your health insurance policy, you would say, wait a second, I understand down in San Jose, if you're in San Francisco, they're doing the same operation. A doctor says he's doing it for half, or this hospital is charging this much. If consumers are paying attention, the price will come down. It'll come down 2/3, not just come down a little bit. Yeah. And the proof of that is before Medicare, the price of health insurance was the price of auto insurance, which was the price of life insurance, which is the price of a single family home, even $1 million single family home. It's about $200 a month. That's all it should cost. And for a young person, about $50 a month. Young people should pay for their health insurance, but you can't ask a young person to pay $1,000 to $2,400 a month. Maybe that's all they're earning when they're starting off in life. And maybe most people can't afford it. Most people can't afford that. Yeah. So we throw in the Affordable Care Act. We'll borrow some money and just throw it out to the public, create more inflation to pay for everyone's health care. We don't want people uninsured, when in fact, it should only cost $200. Then if you can't afford health care, you can go to a charity, or on a means tested basis, the government will say, all right, how much are you short? $50, $100? You can't afford $200? Okay, $200 will pay for your health insurance. That's universal health care. That's fine. Nobody wants to see a nation with people running around without health insurance. So at $200 a month, okay, we'll help you if you can't afford it, or we'll pay what you need. Yeah. There's the solution, not $1,200 or $2,400 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, our editor and producer and friend Mark Allen, who hosts, I'll put in a plug for Mark's Late Night Health, which is a great show about healthcare in America. He commented that you'd think with this pressure or spending this vast amount of money needlessly or unjustifiably, you'd think the quality of healthcare in America would be better, but it's not. I mean, is there just a lack of accountability here? Is that what we're talking about?
No, the Medicare provides for health for last 6 months of life. It provides for everything. It provides for more than people would on their own ask for.
Yeah.
So that's it
So
has
there
to
are
go.
no questions asked. Go ahead and
Yeah,
and
no
do it.
questions asked.
Yeah.
And there's, a 5,000 deductible sounds high, but one solution is what's called a medical savings account. You pay $200 a month for health insurance. That's what it should cost. But you can put another $400 into a medical savings account. Times 12 months, that's $4,800. Well, there's your deductible.
Mhm.
Just
Yes.
put $400 aside every month.
Yes.
If you don't use it, that's adding up pretty soon. You'll, yeah, that's the solution, a medical savings account.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Well, I think we're out of time for our conversation today, but as I knew I would, I learned a lot, and yeah, you raised some very good questions here. I think we should really press to go a little bit deeper on this. So I appreciate your shining a light on this issue. Thank you, David.
Well, I'll come back next time.
I look forward to learning more. Exactly. And for those of you who joined us for this conversation, I just want to remind you that you can purchase copies of David's books, Income and Wealth and the San Francisco Conservative, on his website, which is davidparkeressays.com, or you can go to amazon.com. So thanks very much.
Good. Thank you.